It says we're recording, Drew.
Well, what do you know, man? Finally made it down here.
Made it down here. For all you guys listening, this has been a thing we've been talking about for a minute.
For a little while now, man.
Yeah.
It's been a couple weweeks.
It's like I was expecting to be.
been
Bro,
almost
we've been working on this shit for 6 months, bro. Now, we've been working on that. We've been thinking, it's been longer than a couple weeks, I think. We've been talking about this for a little while.
No, I mean, I would say at least 3 or 4 months.
Has it been that long? I don't even know what the truth is anymore. It's been a while. When I say a while, that could be anywhere from fucking 3 weeks to 3 months. But we've been wanting to do a podcast, and I have some experience with a podcast. I started one years ago, and in my mind, I want to be like, I was a pioneer. But I don't think so. I think it was going on way before that. But in recovery, it was like wanting to talk to people and stuff. So we've been talking about it, and it's like, damn, are we going to do this? Or
No, absolutely. I think it's really how it started was you kind of came to me and told me your story about how you had started jaywalking and how you had, a pretty good level of success with that, starting off. Mm-hmm. And, I had always thought about doing something along those lines in the past, but, relapse is a real thing. It affects all of us. And, I just never was able to get it off the ground. But, you and I kind of came together and just based off of our own experiences that we've had living with each other. And
which is pretty wild.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. It's been an entertaining time, man. Yeah. So, why not put it together and, see what we could juice this lemon for.
Yeah, I agree. And so, what you're going to see is, we do have an idea of, what we want to do. But we were thinking, okay, we're going to do this first episode of the podcast, but we want you guys to, get an insight of kind of, the thinking that's going on, which can be a total shit show most of the time, which is fine. Because, the point of the podcast is to be extremely authentic and genuine. And when I mean that, it's, sometimes that's muddy, right? Sometimes that's not clear, and sometimes it's not picture perfect, or there's no manual to everything in recovery.
Yeah.
I think we want to show some of that side. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
No, absolutely. I mean, the whole point of this is to kind of give a more real experience as to what it looks like, in sobriety. All the muddy waters that we've gone through to get here. And, a lot of it is going to be offensive to people. A lot of it isn't going to be what people want to hear. But it's going to be at least the truth on our perspectives. It's going to be our own truths. It's going to be other people who, we have seen, get to a level of success and hear their truths, their realities. And really, I mean, what it's not intended to be, and, I think you and I can both agree on, is that it's not intended to be, a Bible thumping or, big book, hard pressed, learning session. I think it's going to be quite the opposite.
Yeah, dude, we get bored with that enough. I might be stepping, and that's the thing is I'm not going to be afraid to step on people's toes with this.
Yeah.
Like that, I'm tired of doing that in my life.
Yeah.
I'm tired of gotten to the point where I get sober and then I conform to the ideas and stuff to where I got to protect my AA image. And it's dude, I wish we should have remembered what Josh Barreau told us. Shout out Josh Barreau. He was in the book, it says something. I was going to throw something out there from the book. It's hey, this is only but a beginning, and it's hey, we're not slaves to everything that's in this book. It's principle, and then we have to expand in our lives, and we have to continue learning about ourselves. And that's the point of it, I think. So we get authentic people in here. What the hell is actually going on? What mistakes have been made? Do I continue to make mistakes daily? Probably fucking so.
Absolutely.
And then
Absolutely.
and so we're not wanting to come in here and be hey man, the first step is about powerlessness. And then you need to learn a little bit of hope and faith. You know what I mean? I get that, and that's great. You learn some of those things in wherever you go, your treatment center.
Right.
Which we can get on those later.
Absolutely.
That's coming. Don't worry about it. We will have very in-depth, great conversations about the wonderful treatment industry.
Yeah, no, we'll go through the ins and outs of, how treatment centers have been, especially in our experience.
Yeah.
And, but, let's kind of get a little bit of our backgrounds in there.
Yeah, no, I think so. It's and that's another thing you're saying that's leading up to is the point is we want guests constantly on the show.
Yeah.
It's, we want to record them in a professional setting, similar to a video I posted, and get that video out of what their story kind of looks like, and then bring them in here, actually bring the personality in here.
Absolutely.
And have a real conversation. And it's I'm not so interested on how you did it, like all the time.
Hmm.
I'm interested to see like what's going on and how you're doing it right now in the current setting. Like, dude, I just had a baby. I'm fighting with my wife. Shit's going absolutely crazy and wild. I lost my job. I'm still very selfish and this is what I'm doing, or not about the whole cookie cutter of before. But
Yeah.
yeah, so they know some of my story. If you don't know it, you can watch a video that's posted on before this, and it's on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. What they don't know is who this guy is over here, who looks exactly like a real estate broker. So tell us a little bit about Drew, man. Like, what got you here, and give us a little bit about that, and then like really like how fucking bad was it, man?
Man, I'll kind of do a little bit of, how my story's unique, how my story's a lot like many other people who struggle with addiction. It wasn't something that happened just overnight. It was something that crept in little by little over the years. And, I was just like almost any other kid in high school who really liked to party, man. Alcohol was always just an accessory for me. It started out as something that was just an enhancer, then it turned into a medication, and then it turned into a nightmare. And, throughout my college career, I had always just, put partying and having fun ahead of everything else. I was still able to maintain, good grades and, everything that I needed to do. Once I graduated, I was able to get a career. I was able to really kind of build my life the way that I wanted to. And the entire time that I did that, I thought alcohol was just an enhancement to, what I was doing.
You thought it made you better?
I thought it made me better. And, still to this day, and this is going to be one of those controversial things that we talk about, is that still to this day, I think alcohol helped me in my career early on. I think that it made me a little more confident. I think it made me a little bit more personal. And on those times when I wasn't ambitious and I didn't want to put in the work, drinking made doing that much more fun.
Yeah.
And it in a lot of ways helped me to come out of my shell, helped me to try new things, take risks.
Well, let me ask you this, and sorry, I'm going to interject you
Absolutely.
because I want to pull.
Man.
I want to push and pull a little bit. It's like, as a kid, you're an outgoing guy. You don't meet a stranger, probably. Ever heard that one? It's like, man, Drew's never met a stranger. You know what I mean? It's like, he just is very outgoing. Were you like that as a kid?
No,
Okay.
absolutely not. So, I was born with a, range of learning disabilities, believe it or not.
No, I believe it.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, dude.
I was
That's
waiting
a
for that
sore
axe to
subject.
drop.
I'm sorry, but like,
But, I was born with dyslexia and ADD.
Yeah.
And, I was on Ritalin since I could, fucking walk. And, it was really weird for me. I was very, very shy. I couldn't interact with people. In first grade, I ended up having to repeat first grade because I couldn't read. And, obviously that's, an embarrassing topic. Nobody wants to be the oldest kid in their first grade class. And on top of that, I was a runt. I was a very small guy.
That was a runt.
Yeah. And so, I was the smallest kid in my class, but I was also the oldest. And so that put me at a huge disadvantage socially. And so, I didn't really come out of my shell until probably, early high school. Until I found girls and I found booze, and, I found the ability for that to kind of bring me out of my shell. And in a lot of ways, being able to party and being able to be that dude who, smashes beers on their heads and jump off roofs.
You was wild?
Oh, I was a wild guy, man. I loved it.
You were the life of the party.
Because that's where I validated myself through seeking attention.
Dang, yeah.
And I was able to be that wild guy, be that fucking class clown.
You embraced the role of that.
I completely embraced that role. And by doing so, all of a sudden it's like, bam, 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 you're getting girls thrown your way. You're getting friends thrown your way. You're one of the cool kids now. Things are going right.
So it gave you an identity.
Oh, it gave me an identity, and all of that was associated to alcohol.
Yeah.
And so from a very early age, even before my addiction really kicked in, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but I associated all of my success with alcohol. And I associated, anything that I needed to do in the future. I associated, if I'm going to go into a job interview, if I'm going to go to this big board meeting, if I'm going to, do this presentation in front of all these people, I need my jet fuel in order to be successful.
I did the same thing. Like, I'm an opiate guy, but it's almost like nicotine in a way. It's like, so what I mean is, like, after I eat dinner, I hit the nicotine. Before I'm going to go have an important conversation, I hit the nicotine. I did that with the pills. I did that with
Yep.
the heroin. I did that with the opiates.
Yep.
Same thing with you. Like you guys have a name for it, liquid courage, and
Yeah.
it's true.
It's true. It's true, man. And for the longest time it worked. And that's the scary thing, is that it works just long enough for it to root itself into your brain to where you just can't do what you need to do without it anymore. And it's like I said, it's not something that happens overnight. It takes years and years and years of practice and conditioning.
Okay, so let me ask you this: so let's just say we're looking at Drew, and he's 17 years old. 17, 18, what, junior, senior year? Is it a problem at this point?
No. Well, I mean, it depends on how you define problem. For me, it was a solution, which is, that's a big eyebrow raiser. But, did I ever have withdrawals, or did I ever have like severe cravings, for alcohol? No. Did I drink it every chance I could? Yes.
That looked like a lot of weekend drinking.
A lot of weekend drinking, sneaking out of class at, after lunch and going to our friend's house and smoking weed and stealing liquor out of their liquor cabinet. Sure.
But the thing is like this is where it gets weird because of alcohol, like especially like the alcoholic, it's hard to know if it's an issue yet because it kind of blends in. You kind of blend in with the rest of the kids.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of normal behavior for some just like high school kids trying to have a good time until it's like not normal behavior.
And that's a great point because, and it's the damnedest thing because nobody ever knew when I was drinking, and that's not like that for everybody. I was a very, very high functioning alcoholic. And I think that's one of the more dangerous types of alcoholic are the people who drink and can go out and hop on Excel and put together a financial spreadsheet or, go out and
that's dangerous.
It's dangerous. Yeah. And even past high school, even in college, even in, my career, especially in my career, I could go out and, be going through a handle of vodka every 2 days, but I came off clean cut. I would never miss a day of work. I was on point. And it was like, who's this like rising star coming up? Even though you don't even realize that he's rising up, but he's about to drop off.
What you don't understand is you're like forming an extremely like tight bond with alcohol.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like, hey, dude, we do this together. You get me like, look at us.
We're partners.
We're partners, dude. And I love you.
And
I love you, man.
And it's scary because how do you define a problem when nothing's really going wrong yet?
Yeah, because like the unmanageability part is not really there because it's really manageable.
I was managing the fuck out of my life. Yeah. And until the end. But, when someone's asking you or like, hey, you drink too much, I took that as a term of endearment. Like early on in my drinking career, I thought being an alcoholic was cool because, you see, I think, I'm not bashing on the media or anything for this or movies, but, you see, badass movies of like Animal House or, Fraternity Parties or Van Wilder, all these fucking movies of people being glorified while drinking. And I wanted to be that. I had worked for that my entire like childhood career. And so when I'm finally there, it's like people say, oh dude, you drink too much. I'm like, yeah, but watch me go,
Well, watch this.
And so
like I'm a success.
Yeah. Yeah. And, then you go out into your career and you start drinking and that becomes part of everyday life. In my career, I had a big social aspect to it.
Well, in your career, you're also like, you're taking clients out probably.
Taking clients out, you're doing any kind of a career where you have to network, whether it be sales, real estate, or, any kind of communications career. I mean, it's like you have to go out and hang out with people. You have to network. You have to go to conventions. You have to take clients out. I mean, they're constantly out shaking hands. And I mean, what are you going? You're not going to go out and play checkers,
I mean, I don't think that closes very many business.
You go out, you loosen them up, and offer a few cocktails, and you start talking shop. And I mean, that's what I had become good at, by drinking so much and being on point with alcohol.
When did you? Let me ask. When do you think you started to identify that something may be wrong? Or did someone else identify it for you first?
No, nobody else identified it for me. I knew it well before anybody else did. I can't say that like, there was one day or like I woke up at one point and was just like, fuck, I'm an alcoholic and this is bad. I think that things really took a sharp turn probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I had just switched careers, and I was still doing very well for myself, but it's that one morning where you realize that, you wake up and there's a bottle of vodka right next to your bed.
Yeah.
And at first I thought that they were hangovers, but what I soon very quickly realized was that they were withdrawals. Waking up with shakes and having to time when you can throw up, or how much vodka to drink before you throw up, or as to not make yourself throw up, and planning your morning around drinking first so you can do everything second. Because there would be times, man, where I'd wake up and I couldn't eat breakfast until I had had 6 or 7 pulls from the bottle. And still, but that's the crazy thing about this disease, is the delusion that it brings. Is that I would wake up and not think that this was a problem. I would wake up and feel sick and be like, all right, here's my solution.
Yeah.
And I would just drink out of that bottle, and I'd be like, dude, I feel so good now, and I feel fucking awesome. Like,
But nothing ever went off in your head that's like, I want to stop doing this?
I
Or
never
like,
wanted to stop.
Yeah.
That's the scary part. It's because even though I knew that my body was failing me, my body was going down and I came up with all kinds of excuses. Like, I'd go to the doctor and they'd be like, Drew, your liver's swollen. Like, how much are you drinking? And I'd be like, oh, it must be those new supplements I'm taking. I've been eating kind of shitty lately. That's gotta be it.
It's got to be the cholesterol.
It's gotta be,
It's a little high.
It's gotta be that LDL, man. But I never really wanted to stop drinking because I associated drinking with the fun part of my life. And so you take drinking away and it's just like, well, yeah, I'm sick right now, but at least I'm having fun. And, eventually got to a point where I wasn't even having fun anymore. But always I associated all the good things in my life with alcohol.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like I came off as a better son. I felt like I came off
What?
as a
Well,
better
how did that? Well, let me into that dynamic a little bit. The family.
And yeah, I mean, it was crazy because nobody had more contact with me than my family did. 6 or 7 years ago, or 5 or 6 years ago, when I was at my heaviest drinking stage, and they had absolutely no idea how much I drank. They knew I drank a lot, but they had no idea the severity of the problem.
Do you think that's just like part of it is some ignorance to alcoholism in general? Because when I say ignorance, don't take it as a bad word. It's just the fact that we just don't know.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because when I finally broke, and I came to them and told them, hey, guys, I think we have something to talk about here. And
you took the conversation.
Oh
with
yeah,
them,
yeah. And we finally all sat down, and we were like, and I told them, I was like, I think I'm an alcoholic, but you know what? I'm going to quit, and things are going to be just fine.
And they're like, hell yeah, Drew. Like,
Yeah,
we're on board. Like, hey, man, we're
proud
here
of you.
We're supporting you all the way.
And, that lasted about 4 days. And,
4 days.
And, then, came the, searching through all my shit and finding bottles on bottles on bottles. And, then they took the initiative to, recommend that I go to treatment. And we'll get on that treatment program when we start talking about the treatment centers, because that was just a dog and pony show. But
well, it's like, and dude, I've been saying this a lot. It's like there's a point we have to hop on the roller coaster.
Yeah.
There is a point.
Yeah.
And like for you, you're identifying it right now in your story is I'm about to hop on this roller coaster.
Yeah.
And that's like, first off, I need to stop. I can't stop. What's next? Well, if you're ignorant to all this, you don't really have an idea. As a family, as a person, you're fucking Googling what to do.
What do we do?
Treatment centers, and all of a sudden everyone's popping up as like the #1 treatment center in Texas. And you're like,
Texas.
how is there 50 #1 treatment centers in Texas? And it's like like all these stats, the statistics all showing, and like, and it's like, wait, hold on, we don't question them yet, because you're like, okay. That one looks nice. Like, and they're promising, like, hey, we've got a 98% success rate. Or I don't know, but it's like, seriously, that's what gets your mind and shit going. Or
exactly.
And so where did you don't have to say where you went.
Yeah.
But what was that first treatment center like?
Oh God, dude. So I won't say the name, but it was in Houston, and Houston recovery is just it's come a long way, but I don't think it's anywhere close to where Austin is yet. And again, we had no idea that, like, you can go to another city or you can go to a treatment center somewhere else. We just found this one place that was in Houston. It was actually recommended to us, I think, by like a family friend, maybe. I'm not sure, but we went there and they claimed to be, big book related and, to teach the 12 steps, which they didn't. And, it was one of those things that, and, to their credit, I went into my first treatment center not really taking the program seriously yet.
Well, who does?
Who really
does?
My heart wasn't in this yet. Was I really an alcoholic? No, I needed to go, and I needed to.
You needed some separation from the alcohol, so you
I
get
needed
on
a
with
hard
your life.
reset.
Yeah,
and then I'd be good. And not a problem. I quit drinking for 30 days. I come back out, I can drink like a gentleman, and problem solved. And anybody who's ever been through the game, knows how that story ends. And it was after that though that I started drinking again. I'm coming back out. I'm feeling good. I got some of my health back and color back in my face. And, I'm going back to the office. And you get out of treatment the first time and people congratulate you and shake your hands and say,
they're
proud
so
of you.
proud of you.
It's the second time they're like, oh shit, dude,
and then
you
the
okay?
Third time,
then it's the third time they're like, all right, dude, this is gonna become a problem. And like fourth time they're like, dude, you're a fucking liability.
Like,
you gotta go.
Yo, fuck you, dude.
Like, what's wrong with you? But
For real, dude. That's when you start to be like outcast in the community. You know what I mean? Like you're a problem for us.
Jesus, Drew.
Get your shit together, dude. And but we're not here for you no more on that. And it's just like your family's left.
Yeah, and your family's sitting there just clinging to whatever hope they can.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there, you're just like, don't worry, guys, I got it this time. Don't worry about it.
But the thing is that it's the scary part is you believe it.
Oh, and that's
like
the thing.
Deep within, it's not that you're trying to convince someone else. It's the fact that like you've convinced yourself that this is the truth.
Yeah.
I need this. I just got to have this. Like the certain circumstances that you feel like need to be in place.
If everything just goes my way, then it'll all work out.
Yeah.
And what's the scary thing is that couldn't be farther from the truth. Mm-hmm. And, for me, what really got me, back to your original question, what really got me into submission was after my first stint in rehab, I then got into the idea that I could quit on my own again. And in trying to quit on my own, bam, seizures started happening. Withdrawals got so bad that I started going through DTs and hallucinating and shit, and falling down flights of stairs and separating my shoulder.
Do you remember any of the? Remember any of the crazy hallucinations?
Man, dude, so
like
it's crazy because most of the time my parents were the ones that took me to the hospital, and that was where a lot of the hallucinations were, and I was in the hospital for days. And I don't even remember. I remember bits and pieces of it, little snippets. Like I remember they had to take a UA from me, and for some reason the UA was like on the counter where I was on the bed in the hospital room, and my mom came in to hang out or whatever, and I looked at it and I was like, why are bugs crawling all over my fucking urine cup? And she looked over there and it was just a fucking urine cup, but I saw bugs all over it.
Yeah. And
then at one point I saw one of our dogs running around the hospital that I was trying to follow. I saw my dead grandmother. Just a whole bunch of just snippets of just random stuff.
There was this guy, his name is, dang it. I don't know if I should say his name, but whatever. I don't care. He came in, dude, and he was like, first day in treatment, and he had just come from detox. And he's an alcoholic like yourself.
Yeah.
And he was like, dude, he came and he's like, man, like, I don't know why they sent me to that, like, football camp first. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
He's like, dude, I was in there with all of UT's football players. He's like, my coach had me up against the wall. He's like, they took me to a haunted house. And this is like his fucking reality, dude. Yeah. He's like, I don't know why it's part of this program to go through football camp first. I'm like, dude, I don't think that happened, man. I don't think that happened.
I just don't think that's the case.
Yeah,
man.
But anyways, I mean, I'm sure it can get pretty wild. I mean, my wildest like hallucination was like, I swear to God, dude, I was talking to like my friends on my fingers, and they were like shooting spider webs at me, trying to be like, yo, Jay, bro, like you need to quit doing drugs. And all of a sudden I like teleported into like the Jason Bourne movie for like 3 days.
Yeah.
I was Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
But I couldn't figure out how to get from like Ant-Man small size to like big size. So I was like so far from absolutely everything. It was just wild, man. And everybody has some crazy stories like that. But yeah, okay. So all right, so let's think about this. It's like, let's fast forward a little bit in your story. How many treatment centers have you been to?
4.
Okay. So you were just talking about your first one.
Yeah.
obviously it doesn't work. You get back into life, and the same thing, it happens again. It's just like there's not a catalyst that sets it off. It's just you don't really understand alcoholism. You're not working a. I don't even want to talk about a program, and I mean that is like you're not living life in principle. I'm not talking shit about the program. It is the baseline, and it's that important.
No,
it gives you a hard
absolutely.
baseline to understanding principle and working through some really strong shit and some things you need to, and some hard truth that's in there. And at the end of it, I think we try to figure out grace. If we can get that far without just being like, you're a piece of shit the rest of your life forever, you need to listen to my perspective or you're fucked.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you don't know anything about that necessarily yet.
Right.
Let's talk about, when did it get to the point to where you started figuring out some of that? Like to where it's like, okay, some of this makes a little bit of sense. Or really, like, I think this whole thing is about honesty. That is the biggest part of this whole thing in staying sober. It's like the true honesty, not like, yo, that cup's red and I'm telling you it's like pink or whatever. No, it's like to myself, the truth. I got to be able to tell myself that and hold like firm in that. Can you identify with that feeling that I'm talking about? Like, Drew, and this is your own conscious thing talking to you. You're an alcoholic.
Yeah.
You'll forever be this way if you continue to put this shit in your body. And things have to be extremely different for you to really if you want to get to where you want.
Yeah. I think, I think that everybody needs a certain level of shock value in their addiction to kind of jumpstart them into going and really taking the program seriously. I think that the reason that so many people, or I think one of the reasons that so many people relapse is that they go in half-hearted and, half measures avail us nothing. But what it did for me was the absolute
right now.
Absolute desperation. It was when I was just so fucking sick after I think it was after my second treatment center, just being so sick and delirious. And, I think that it was finally the fact that my body had absolutely just failed me. And there was nothing else that I could really do anymore. After the first two treatment centers, I had just, I still had stamina left. I still had a little bit of juice. I still had a few cylinders firing. And to be honest, I still had a few relapses left in me. My heart wasn't in it. And
that's the truth.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
And it took me fucking 4 seizures and, countless hospital visits and absolutely just being in the fetal position in my own vomit and just sitting there, just cold, hot, throwing up bile and having a seizure. And my, again, parents sitting there looking at me, just not knowing what to do because, what do you do in that situation? And, it was just, it was finally me just willing to drop all of my own shit and to ask for help. And I think it was me being willing to accept help. And just, a lot of people and addicts and alcoholics are funny this way because we're so stubborn that, we've got a lot of persistence. And when we're finally able to let go of a lot of that and to say, you know what, fuck it, it's over. And I think everybody kind of does have that okay, the show stops.
Yeah,
and the show stops.
Or it ends up to where you're gonna die or something.
Yeah.
There comes a point to where it's like, if I continue to do this to my body, like literally, like physically and everything, I'm not gonna make it.
You're throwing darts at that point, and a lot of people don't make it, which is the horrible thing. But shit, there were a lot of times when I might not have come out of a seizure, and who knows? But it just got to an absolute baseline level of desperation. My career was pretty much over. And
are you talking about this is the last time around here?
Yeah, my career is pretty much done. My parents, who God bless them, stood by my side, but I could see hope draining from their eyes. I could see that they were like, fuck, here we go again. We're about to relive this whole fucking nightmare all over again. And, I could see my little brother just sitting there and my little brother growing up always kind of looked up to me. This is the first time in my life I've ever seen him disappointed. And, and not like disappointment, just you look at him, you just see just sheer, fuck, it's this one's probably it. This one's probably over. And you know, it really, like, I mean, everyone says you need to get into sobriety for yourself, but I think what actually gets us in the door, you know, for a lot of us is just the absolute just shame and just willing to do anything that you can to try and get any sense of dignity back.
Dude, I think that you hit on a great point there. And it's like, because we're told, and the treatment centers will tell you a lot, is like, it's not, none of this is going to really work until you do it for yourself.
Right.
And it's like, you're right. It's like, I don't know anybody who walks in the door and is like, okay, I'm finally going to do this shit for me.
Yeah.
I don't think that.
No.
I think you're fooling the shit out of yourself.
I think
because
it's all bullshit.
obviously you're holding on to something. You've disappointed people enough. Your family. It's like, damn, that shame is that heavy. And if that's what gets you in the door, then fucking awesome.
Absolutely.
But you have to. I think once you're in the door and you start to like come out of some things, you need to understand that you're gonna have to do it for yourself, or nothing's gonna change, because you can't stay sober. On the fact of like wanting to be a better person for you, your family.
Yeah, absolutely. You do it for the wrong reasons, and I mean, you'll get some time. You might be able to hold it out or white knuckle it for a little while, but it never lasts. You know, it's something that you have to have, you know, again, you know, I'm not trying to get all scripture on you, but it's that internal change. Everybody has, and that's why I kind of use the word shock value. It's like everyone needs to be fucking put through that,
beaten down, man. It's like beaten down to submission, man. To where it's like, I explain it, and we talk about spirituality, and it's huge. Like I'm not even gonna play with you on that. Like it's big. If you don't have any of that in your life, you're a ticking time bomb until you're probably gonna drink or use again. And I'm not saying you need to like bow down, or I don't care if you believe in Jesus, Buddha, you know, if you believe in me, as long as Drew don't believe it's Drew, you know what I mean? For a while, whatever that is, like you have to find some of that. You have to at some point. And it's that's the key to it, which is it's so important. And I don't know how I can't. There's no manual to get there to that. I think it's like being stripped of all the shame, being like one-on-one with just like you and your disease. And it's like there's no more like there's nothing, no more like soft, you know, landing areas around you to go. It's like, dude, sink or fucking swim.
There's
like, seriously.
no one else to help. And you know, it's just like, man, this is my last resource. Like, you know, I mean, it's the last shot I got, you know.
And it's sad that it comes like, it's like, okay, I've tried everything else.
All right, God.
Might try this
now
God
I'm willing.
yeah. I'm ready for you, God. Thank you.
Yeah.
After I've not died a million times, you know what I mean? Because like, when I was thinking about you saying people die, and that's true, like the alcoholic death is slower.
Yeah.
A lot of times. You know what I mean? Like it's a slow, it can be a miserable existence for like 50
Cirrhosis
years.
Sucks.
Yeah. An addict's like, we gone. You know what I mean? Like that's the truth. Is you're like rolling dice every single, and I'm not saying you're not as an alcoholic, because the seizures and things are real. I get that. And the withdrawals are insane. But so continue. Sorry. You're getting to the point where you're finding yourself being submissive to like the disease.
Yeah. You know, man. And, it was crazy, because the last time after my third treatment center, I went out and I was sober for about 8 months. And, you know, for about 8 months, I thought that things were going terrible in my life. And it was just a miserable fucking existence. And for literally what we just said, I had no spiritual connection in my life whatsoever. I was not working a program. You know, I didn't have a sponsor. You know, I was feeling sorry for myself. You know, I had thrown my career down the toilet, and I was just sitting there. I had a little bit of money saved up, which was, you know, I don't know, a blessing or a curse, but, you know, it was kind of a curse in the sense that I was able to just sit on my ass and watch TV all day. And I was sober, but I was fucking miserable. And after a couple of months of just not working a program, not having a purpose, and, you know, just kind of floundering in life, I was like, dude, I'm miserable. So if I'm miserable, then I might as well drink and feel a little bit better than I do now. And sure enough, I drank, and I was like, damn, I feel great again. This is awesome. This is the best, you know, for about 2 weeks. And 2 weeks later, it was just like, bam, hit by a truck. And, you know, that's why addiction's so crazy, is that some people, you know, you have that one beer and the sky comes falling down, and the next day you wake up and your whole life's fucked. For me, that's not the case. I can pull it off for a week or two or three. or, maybe a month or two, and nobody will fucking know. And I did that, and I started drinking. I was like, dude, maybe this time's going to be different. And sure enough, it wasn't. I ended up falling on my ass again. And, it's a miracle that I, made it through that. But it was after that last round where I had been sober for a little bit and then thought it was going to be different. And then it wasn't, where I was just like, dude, no matter what I do, no matter how I play this, it's going to end the same way. It's like fucking gravity. And, I can spin it any way I want to. I'm a damn good salesman when it comes to my addiction, and I can push it off, and I can stretch it out, and I can make it look pretty. But at the end of the day, gravity fucking wins, and I end up on my fucking ass. So
I think that's like it's similar to all of it. We just don't. It's hard to grasp. It's hard to like grasp that until you're in it.
Yeah.
Until you come out of it.
Yeah.
It's like it's gonna end the same every time.
Yeah. Every time.
If you're a true alcoholic and you're an addict or whatever, it's like there is no other alternative to it. Like there's like 50 million different maybe patterns to get to it.
Yeah.
It looks a little bit different, but it's all exactly the same.
Yeah.
It is. And it's funny how alcohol starts out as a fun social, having a good time. It ends up you drinking alone in misery by yourself, and life sucks ass.
Yeah, it's just miserable, dude. It's a miserable existence.
So tell me this. What do you think is going on now with you in current? What do you think? How are you feeling? Just kind of what's life look like in terms of you and this disease, and how are you combating that?
Yeah, man. This go around, again, desperation. I accepted a lot of advice this go around. I'm from Houston originally, and literally there was like 3 fucking days left in my treatment center, and they were trying to talk me into doing IOP and sober living, and I'm just like, yeah, go fuck yourself. But literally like 3, maybe 4 days, or like maybe a week tops, before I'm out of there. And my counselor was just like, have you ever thought about living in Austin? And I was
They
like,
love doing that shit.
And I was like, what the fuck?
Not that it's a bad idea to stay, because I think
no.
you need to stay within community. Like community is the greatest influencer and fellowship. Like
Hands
that is
down.
how you really get involved and stay.
Hands down.
You need it. So like I'm not against that at all. I was like, hey, we think you should stay in Austin for a little while with some of the people you've met. You're starting to network a little bit within recovery, and you get to see these people.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it's a bad idea not to throw someone back home, or like in an environment that they don't know, which they most likely will not get involved in.
Yeah.
So I get that. I agree with that. I'm just going through some of these decisions that are made in treatment, and I'm like, okay, that sounds legit.
Yeah.
When we see one that doesn't, we'll point that shit out too.
Oh, for sure. And we'll get to that for sure. But anyway, so, I was just like, what, are you fucking nuts? Just like uproot my whole life to move to Austin. And, my counselor kind of hit me with well, what does your life look like in Houston right now? And I was like, it's fucking awesome. I've got my apartment. I can't abandon my apartment. And, they're like, how often do you hang out with your friends right now? And I'm just like, I see where this is going. And, I talked to my family about it, and we're like, what harm could doing like 2 months in Austin for IOP? What the fuck? Why not? And so, and kind of to answer your question is, what does my life look like now? It's being in Austin has given me the opportunity to kind of grow a tribe. And I think that for everybody, one of the most important things that you can do in recovery is to build a fellowship, to have a network of fucking dudes or, women around you that are there for support. And, like you and I, we're living together in sober living right now, and we've got a group of guys that we can turn to, and it's a fellowship, and you're never really fucking alone. It has its perks, it has its downsides, but at the same time, I get more out of it than I don't. And my life right now looks like, I made the choice to end up working in treatment right now, which is kind of going to be an interesting topic we'll touch on down the road. But right now I'm trying to engulf myself with as many factors somewhat related to treatment as possible. And I'm not trying to, again, I'm by no fucking way, a Bible thumper or an AA book pusher. I believe in the program, but I live my life by having fun. And I like to go out and, we go out and you and I, we go out and fuck around all the
Yeah,
time.
you
And,
got to, man.
it's just,
It's not to get sober. Just the thing is, like, I'm not getting sober to be boring.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm not getting sober to like connect to, traits of mine that I think are right within the world. Like, I want to be myself.
Yeah.
And I have fucking struggled with that in my life. It's like, okay, I'm sober.
Absolutely.
I have to act a certain way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got to come off a certain way.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm not good. I'm good with
Nope.
that shit, dude.
Nope.
And so it's like, I'm going to do the things that I want to have fun. I want to I want to be a good guy. Like, at the end of the day, it's like, what's your goal? I want to be a good person.
Yeah.
But I'm not sad. I want to have fun. I want to enjoy my life.
I still want to fucking rage, man. Like, I want to party, but, I just want to be sober.
It
I wanna
looks
live.
different.
Yeah, it looks a lot different. But, man,
But it can be better too, though.
Yeah,
That's the
fuck
thing. It's
yeah.
like the people are like, oh, it makes
absolutely.
me, like the social aspect is you just got to get out there and do it.
Yeah.
Like it's like you got to get out of this head. Like you got to get out of your noggin and stop thinking too much and understand that like those conversations that you're scared of having, like you actually remember this shit. Like you
Yeah.
remember details and things that like make people like you. Like, you know what I mean? You're not
Yeah.
this annoying fucker in the corner yelling. Like I can
Yeah.
just imagine you, dude.
Oh,
like I'm
dude.
thinking like I don't even know.
Doing backflips off walls and shit.
Yeah,
like,
man,
I mean,
I'd have we would make it as like, bro, if you did some alcohol, or you did alcohol,
If I did some alcohol.
if you drank and I start shooting some dope. Matter of fact, if I start drinking with you, bro,
Yeah.
we're on a fucking plane to Vegas here in about 45
I'm
minutes,
telling you-
and
I'm
I'm telling you right
dude.
now,
Yeah.
it is not gonna end good.
fucking Tijuana, bro. And I mean,
going to fucking
there's
yeah,
no
we're going
coming
to
back.
fucking- no.
There's no coming back.
I'm getting lost in the city of Bangkok.
Yeah,
son.
we've had this conversation. It'd be fun for 3 fucking days, and then our whole lives would just be absolute trash.
Yeah.
If we
It'd be
made
so
it that
shitty,
far,
man.
Yeah.
It'd be so shitty.
Oh my god.
Wow.
But yeah, man. I mean, that's a little bit about how I made it here, and kind of going into how we started this thing. You and I met at the sober house, and I mean, it's really all about just fucking making your own good times, dude. You don't need to be this, strict, hard thumping, person who lives in perfect accordance with the rules of the big book. You need to go out there and find new ways to have fun. And that was always my struggle because I couldn't have fun without alcohol. Like, wait, what are you, nuts? Like, how is that even possible? But, it's going out there and it takes time, man. It takes a lot of time for your brain to be able to reset and to start like being able to calibrate new emotions again. And I think that was always a big struggle for me. It was because it's like, whoa, I don't like the way that feels, or whoa, I'm nervous here, or this is uncomfortable. Like, where's my fucking medication? Where is my fucking, suppressant for those negative emotions? Or I'm having like too much energy or too much excitement on something. Where's my whiskey to kind of tame that down? And, I mean, I would be a downright liar to say that I still don't feel a lot of those things. Like all the time, I still think of like ice cubes clinkling and, in my whiskey glass, especially when I'm doing work or I'm sitting down, or like, it's just one of those things that has been built into my head over years and years and years of practice. But once you take a couple months and you start to realize that shit fades, and it fades more with over time. It never goes away, but you find you build more and more tools to deal with it. I mean, you start doing shit like you start doing stupid shit with your buddies again. You start laughing again, and you start
At the wildest shit.
at at shit you wouldn't even think of.
Like that's, and I keep saying like authentic, and it's funny, and it's like I will always bring it back to this. Is like my head will tell me that I have to act a certain way.
Yeah.
I have to be a certain way. Like I gotta be this professional in recovery.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you saw,
That's fucking
honestly, dude,
bullshit.
here's the thing, dude, and I want to bring as much of this to the podcast as we possibly can. It's like if you knew some of the shit that we talk about and laugh about,
Yeah.
I don't even know. I probably wouldn't be allowed in the fucking airport, dude. Or like,
Oh,
I mean, like
yeah.
I'm not around children. I don't, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And the truth of it is like that's most of us. That's
Yeah.
a lot of people in the world in general. Like what the conversation's like around when you're like, like comfortable around people. Like there's the authentic part of this shit.
Yeah.
Like I'm not into talking X's and O's on this shit as much.
Yeah,
I'm not like,
for
I mean,
sure.
it's like, our stories are the same, and we end up with what happens. Our lives get real shitty. we get fucked up, we go to treatment. We fuck up again, go back to treatment. Like at some point, we hope this shit sticks because we have to like really clean house and start understanding things. And like you're saying, we got to have fun. What does that look like?
Yeah.
Because I'm fucking totally lost in this, and it's like stay fucking true, be honest and authentic, understand genuineness, understand like vibes, understand that you're not gonna like everybody in the world. It's like, oh, I have to fucking get along. It's not true. It's like
not.
it's
Yeah.
not. And I don't today. And it's like I just get to the point where I'm just don't fuck with you, dude. And I know you don't fuck with me. So like,
And that's
I wish you the best, but
Yeah.
I don't think I have to like. I don't think principle tells me that I have to be so happy with someone everybody. You know, I don't think that's reality. So.
And I think that, you know, especially people that are new in the program need to know that, like, shit doesn't go smoothly either. Like, you know, I mean, like, you know, you and I, we laugh our asses off. We do stupid shit and whatnot. But I think it's so important for people to see, like, everybody looks at people in recovery and sees that their lives are going so well. But everybody still has the same shit and problems.
That's
to deal
important.
With. Like
that's
people
important
still have
say.
to deal with all
Yeah.
their fucking life issues and shit.
Well,
like,
that's the thing is like people and their families start to judge this addict or alcoholic based on what they look like in terms of like, well, they've been sober on time, right?
Yeah.
For 4 months now, and
Yeah.
he sounds really well. He's starting to look good. He's put some weight and some muscle on. You know, I think he's back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know,
Like,
and it's like,
no.
I'm sure the thing is like, don't interject in the process. Like, I'm sure the person's doing great.
Yeah.
And have a conversation with them. And I'm sure they sound good and they probably sound like their old self. That's amazing. But don't like, you know, don't interject in that. Let the process continue to play out and understand like they're going through a journey, you know?
Yeah.
And like the family needs to be going through one too, because if not, you'll get stuck in place. And we'll get on those conversations with family, because the family needs just as much work and help as we do.
I mean,
because they've been putting their shit on the back burner while we've been getting fucking sober.
It's amazing what codependency can do.
Oof.
It's a motherfucker, dude. It's a motherfucker, man.
Yeah, it's a big deal. So we want to bring the point of this is, and I know we're getting closer to time, but we'll kind of wrap up some of this here at the end with what our goals are, what we see this doing in the future. I hope all 5 of you watch this and enjoy to the end and enjoy. It's like we want to get more people in on this. The point is like if you want to share your story, if you have some shit and you're not afraid to come sit in front of, it feels like 30 cameras and lights and stuff, and just tell some of us it's we want to make it as comfortable for you as possible, wouldn't you say? And we want to hear your story, like no matter what. But we want to get into like the cool stuff too. Don't be surprised what questions that we do ask you.
Yeah.
And we just want to hear if you can be authentic and genuine and true what's going on. If you can be like, yo, I'm 4 years sober and I still make really stupid ass decisions. Like
we want to hear about them.
Yeah, we want to know, because that's the shit that really helps people. There's not, the point is not to grab onto an identity that's false.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's the nitty gritty nuts and bolts of what we do. And, you know, it's something that is a little bit of an alternative method, or it's something that, you know, isn't necessarily what's broadcasted on the surface of all these other programs, because everybody has their own life that they live. And everybody does it either successfully or not so successfully. But by bringing people onto this show and being authentic with it, we can at least learn from other people's experiences.
Yeah.
No matter how offensive or nitty gritty it might get, you know, I want to know what some people are doing. You know, I mean, I want to know what these guys are doing to help them get to fucking day 2 or
And you never know who you're going to identify with.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
so many of us. I think it's like this whole idea of recovering out loud needs to be pushed more. It needs to be talked about, because it's like almost this shit kind of gets underground sometimes. Like it's its own little, like, you know, when people like talk about it being a cult and stuff, like the program, which I can understand why they think that.
I get
so
it.
it's like we need to be louder about this stuff. We got to talk more.
Absolutely.
People need to hear more of it, because people who are afraid to look at their shit or be like, damn, like they don't, maybe there's not enough resources out there. And here's what I want to, let's cover this just a little bit. There's a lot more resources with recovery than you think. You don't have to give a treatment center $250,000. You know what I mean? And I'm dead ass about that, because they will revolve you and rotate you through that program so fast. Don't forget that there are places that are not so pure, and that like that greed gets big, and all of a sudden you look book into a treatment center and you do 90 days, they think you need a 4th month, right? Because they're like, they can pay for it. And maybe sometimes you do. Yeah. That's fine. But if I don't know what the intent is, but if all of a sudden you're looking yourself up and you're getting a 4th month, then they want you to do their IOP, they want you to go to their sober living, and if you have a relapse, they need you to fucking go back to their treatment center, and like then they want to give you false statistics like they're calling you, checking on you, making sure you're sober. That's bullshit. So we'll get into that.
Yeah.
You got any take on that at all? Like,
not
are
yet.
you afraid to look into some of this? Because it is a little sketchy.
I love it because like you, I lived it, and I mean, dude, I mean, God help my family, but I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it on both sides. I've seen treatment centers that really do want to help people and do a very good job, and I've seen people that just pump them out like farm animals. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's at the end of the day, man, what people need to understand is that this is a business, and it's a lucrative business, and it's a lucrative business because I mean, sad truth is we are typically repeat offenders. And we're repeat
like job
customers.
Security, baby.
Yeah. And so these guys, and any business that deals with direct pay from insurance companies, I mean, you want them there as long as possible. And so, I mean, what kind of blurs the lines in between how long they need to be there and what's the value of this addict to us? How long can we keep this cash cow in our treatment center for, as long as
I think it gets covered up too. It's like, they need it, and we're gonna they muddy it a little bit, and they justify it to where they make it feel like they're doing the right thing, and that's where she gets real fucked up, dude.
No, absolutely,
and
absolutely.
we're gonna uncover some of that. So
we'll get in we'll split those hairs and
because that's coming, dude. That shit's coming, and I think it's important to talk about it because like these poor people and families, like think about yourself, your story, you had no idea, and you jump into one of these places, and they're giving you think sound instruction, and it might have came from a good place before, and they didn't tell you that they sold this property for $50-something million, and all of a sudden, like, what? Like, you just made $50 million off a bunch of drug addicts, and you're telling me that out of the goodness out of your heart, you're doing the right thing every time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Get the fuck out of here, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you're tripping. Like, you're telling me all of a sudden, we don't have any scholarships left yet. I made $55 million. No. Fuck off, dude. Like, I don't want to hear your bullshit coming around. And I just think that, like, maybe it started off right, and somewhere along the way, things got a little fucked up.
I think everybody gets into it with somewhat good intentions, but money has a way of turning people, man. Well, I mean, running a business has to be ruthless, in my opinion. And so when you get into treatment, you start running a business, it's like, well, I got into this for the right reasons, but, I also have this fucking business to run. And, it's like, okay, well, how do I keep that balance here? And most people don't know how to keep a balance between doing the right thing and growing a business no matter what the cost. And so, we'll get into that, man. I look forward to that.
Yeah, it's coming. We have some really cool conversations.
That's going to be a fun one. Yeah.
We have some badass conversations coming. We're going to talk about different treatment centers in the Austin area and around the country. We'll make sure to do our due diligence on those things, and most of the time it's going to come from direct experience. We'll bring people on the show that have experience with these things that have actually helped them and changed their life. We want to make this educational in the form that, like, we've made these mistakes, so you don't have to.
Yeah.
How do we get that across to people? We want to share people's stories as much as possible, and that's the main thing is, like, how do we help people? Like, at the end of this, we want to help people.
At the end of the day, hopefully somebody can get something positive out of what we're doing.
Yeah. So that's it, man. That's kind of the first little episode here. It goes by a lot quicker than you think.
It went by quick, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty fast, man. It's nuts. Badass studio that we have here, and it's not ours, but it's cool to be able to be in a badass studio.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's all I got. You got anything else, Drew?
Nope. Look forward to hearing back from you guys, and we'll have some good stuff for you next week.
Yeah, see you guys later, man.
Thanks a lot, guys.